wake up and realize
How are you doing out there? I hope you're having a great day. I want to welcome you into the first episode of the Open Door podcast on YouTube. My name is Chris Harris. I'm your host, I'm your moderator, I'm your friend. I'm going to be the one sticking out with you as we discuss different topics concerning men. Before we do anything today, I want you to subscribe to this podcast because when we drop different topics, you don't have to search for it. You don't have to look around for it. When you subscribe, it will come right to you. Also, you can find me on Instagram, search Chris Harris, and me and you can be connected. Today, I have an interesting topic I want us to discuss. You know, as we grow as men, or as we become men, there are certain areas or certain things that influence us along the way, along the journey. And one of those areas of influence is family. So, for the next couple of episodes, we're going to be dealing with family. Family plays a major role on how we become or how we grow up to become men. I want to give you an example about something. Let's take racism. There is a lot of racism and prejudice and hate in the world. But let's look at children. A child doesn't see race. A child doesn't see culture. A child doesn't see religion. A child just wants to play with someone. It's so amazing when you look at a child. I'm saying that because the first education that we have is at home. The first education is with our family. And when you look at a child just sees a kid out there. Hey, I got a bike. You want to ride? You want to go to the park? You want to play ball? A child doesn't see race. A child doesn't see culture. A child doesn't see religion. But what happens to that same child that when they grow up, now that child is saying, I can't talk to you, I can't hang around you because of the color of your skin, because of your religion, because of your culture. That's something that was taught to them. That's something that they learned. And normally it's in the house. That's why I said the first education is in the house. Before you go out into the world, before you go to grade school, to high school, before you go out and into the path of society, the first life lessons you receive is at home. So if the first education is at home, that means your first teachers are at home as well. And in that home, where you receive your first education, there is a teacher there called a father. And the father is there to build you up. A father is there to pour into you. A father is there to sharpen you. A father is there to guide you as you grow up to become the men that you are supposed to become. But the question that I have for you today is, what do you do when there is no father, no teacher at home? I said the first education you receive is at home. Your first teacher is at home, and your father is your first teacher. And he's there to build you up. He's there to guide you. He's there to counsel you. He's there to mold you so that you become the best man that you can be. But the question I have for you today is, what do you do when there is no father at home? You know, I pulled some statistics, and I pulled some statistics from the Annie E. Casey Foundation. If you don't know anything about the Annie E. Casey Foundation, the Annie E. Casey Foundation is a charitable foundation based out of Baltimore. And this foundation, they strive to pave a better future for our children and our young people. They generate grants, they generate initiatives, and they also do research so that they can better prepare and pave a way for our children and the next generation. So I pulled some statistics from the Annie E. Casey Foundation, and they pulled this data from the last U.S. Census that was done in 2021. Here is the data I want to give you. In the United States of America, there are 24 million children who live in a single house or live within a single family. Of that 24 million children in America that live in a single family, there are 14.5 million that live in a single family where it's only mom there. 3.5 million live in a house where there's only the father, and there are 6 million that live in a house where they co-parent. 24 million that live in a single family household. And 14.5 million out of that 24 million that live in a house where it's only their mom. I want you to take in those numbers. And the numbers are even more larger when you consider children who are Black. That's not the topic of discussion today, but it is the topic of discussion. We'll pencil that because we want to know, why are the numbers so disparaging when it comes to our Black children? But let's get back to the topic, because I've gave you the statistics. 24 million that come from a single family home or live in a single family home, and 14.5 million that the home is only their mother in there. So I ask the question again, what do you do when that father, when that teacher is not in the home? Because that's your first teaching. Before you go out there in the world, your first teacher is at home. But what do you do when that teacher is not there? Now, what is a father supposed to teach a son as he grows up to become a man? The first thing that I can think about that a father would teach a son about what it takes to become a man is to be a leader, leadership, because a man is a natural leader. So a father is there to teach that son how to lead. One of the places that you can look at is the home. A man is supposed to lead his home. A man is supposed to lead his family. Now you have a lot of men who are in a home, but they're not leading their family. If they are a leader, if a man is a leader, then a father would teach a son that a leader is accountable. We have a lot of men out here who are not being accountable. You know, when I think about accountability, I think about the first man and the woman in the Bible, Adam and Eve. When the woman, Eve, was tricked by the serpent to eat the fruit, and then she gave it to her husband, Adam, to eat. When God questioned the man, remember, the man is the leader. When anything goes wrong, what does it fall on? It falls on the leader. In any corporation, in any organization, if anything happens, they go to the leader because the leader is accountable. And when God went to the leader, Adam, and he asked him what happened, what did he do? Adam said, oh, it was the woman who did it. Wait a minute, you're the leader. You're the one who's supposed to be accountable. But when God went to him, he wasn't accountable. He said, oh, it was the woman. He didn't take accountability. And this is something that a father in the house would teach a son how to be accountable. Also, a father would teach a son about taking responsibility. This is major in our families because there are a lot of men who have grown up and they're not taking responsibilities, especially when it comes to taking care of their children. You know, one thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way, and since we're on this podcast and we're conversating back and forth, one thing that rubs me the wrong way when I see a man not taking care of his children. Men will have the babies. You had the child. You were there. That 5 minutes of pleasure, whatever it was, now that 5 minutes of pleasure is up, and this is the byproduct, you have a child. Now you're not taking responsibility to raise that child and to lead that child. But a father will be there and tell a son that, son, as you grow up and become a man, you always take responsibility. Another area, as I was thinking, that a father would teach his son is hard work. The man is the provider of his house. So you have to work hard. You have to work hard to be able to provide for your family. A father would teach a son that everything is not, or things are not going to come easy for you. Everything is not going to come on a silver platter. I have kids myself, and I always tell them that you have to work hard. Whatever you're doing, put the work in. For some of us, we have to go get it. For some of us, we have to get it out the mud. Some people have more advantages than others out there. But are you going to cry about it? Are you going to whine about it? I always tell my kids this: we're not crying. We don't make excuses. We go out there and get it. Even if we have to get it out the mud. And there are a lot of men who are successful, but they had to get it just like that. They had to get it out the mud. And that's what a father will be there to tell a son. We have a lot of men, let me just say it this way: we have a lot of men who don't want to work. They're lazy. They want things handed to them. They want the easy way out. And you're not always going to get the easy way. Sometimes the easiest way is not the best way, but hard work pays off. So a father will be there to tell a son that and teach a son that hard work is what's needed to be a man. Also, another area is a father would teach a son how to deal with the opposite sex. A man hopes to have a wife. With a wife, you hope to have a family. You have to learn how to deal with the opposite sex, not just in family, also out there in society, in the workplace, or wherever you go. You have to learn how to deal with the opposite sex, the woman. There are a lot of men that I see, they don't know how to deal with women. I see men, they treat women any old kind of way. They treat women like they're less than them. They treat women like trash. I know men, the way they talk about women, they don't call a woman her name. They call her a female dog. I know some men that do that. And I say, you have a mother. You probably have sisters. Why are you disrespecting a woman? A woman was put here to be a helper. But a lot of men don't understand that. A lot of men weren't trained to have respect for women. A woman is a queen. You protect the queen. But a lot of men don't realize that because they never had a teacher in their house to show them how to treat the opposite sex. But not just even that, practical things. You know, I was raised in a single family household. I mentioned the 24 million. This was the 2021 census. I would have been part of that 2021 census, that 24 million, because I was raised in a single family house. So I would have been part of the 14.5 million because I was raised just with my mother. It was my brother and I and my mother. My mother held the house together and she raised me and my brother. And as I look back, I'm a man now, and I look back and I think about what things or how things could have been in my life. There are practical things that I didn't know because I didn't have a father to teach me those things. Practical things like tying a tie. You know, when you go to court, when you go for a job interview, when you go for a business meeting, you're probably going to need a suit. You're probably going to need a tie. I had no father in my house to teach me how to tie a tie. How do I learn how to tie a tie? I learned on YouTube. You probably laughing, but YouTube is good for a lot of things. I learned a lot of things on YouTube. Don't laugh at me. But that's the way I learned because I didn't have a father to teach me those things. How to change a tire on a car. I remember I was driving my mother's car. I was a teenager and the car caught a flat. And I just happened to be close to my auntie's house. And I made it to my auntie's house on a flat tire. And I called her. I said, I got a flat tire. Can you send Ed? Ed is my uncle. He's passed on to be with the Lord, but he's my uncle. I said, can you send Ed out? So she sent my uncle Ed out. And Ed came out and he looked at me. He said, you don't know how to change a tire? I said, I don't know. I don't know. I had no one to teach me how to change a tire. But I thank God for him because he took the time at that day to just teach me step by step how to change a tire on a car. Now I got it. So if any flat comes, I can do it and be on my way. But at that time, I didn't know something practical like that, how to change a tire on a car. Even about hygiene, how to have good hygiene. These are different things that a father would teach a son: how to stay groomed, how you dress, how you speak. Different things, practical things that a father would teach a son. But when there is no father in the house, when there is no teacher in the house, where do you go for these things? I have an answer for that today. And this is my answer. When you don't have a father in the house, remember your first teacher is at home. If there is no father, no teacher in the house to help you or to build you up or to guide you as you become a man, this is what you need to do. Are you ready? This is what you need to do. You need to go find your father. Now, you may be saying to me as I said that, what is you talking about? Go find my father. I don't even know where my father's at. Do you know where my father's at? Because he owed me 18 years of child support. Do you know where my father's at? That's not what I'm saying. Before you jump down my throat, let me explain to you what am I saying. And I'm going to explain to you first by giving you a story in the Bible. There is a story in the Bible in 2 Kings chapter 22. Especially verse 1 to 2, you want to read. There is a young man who becomes the king of Judah, and his name is King Josiah. In that scripture, 2 Kings 22, verse 1 to 2 tells us when Josiah is installed as a king, it says that the first thing that he did was that he followed the ways of his father David. But if you study the chapters before, you will come to know that David was not his father. His father's name was Amon. And the father of Amon's name was Manasseh. But if you read chapter 21, if you read chapter 20, it will tell you that Amon did evil in the sight of the Lord. You know, the Bible tells us that when the righteous are in power, the people rejoice. But when the wicked are in power, the people suffer. Josiah's father, Amon, and his grandfather, Manasseh, the Bible tells us they both did evil in the sight of the Lord. They rebelled against God. They established idols. They did treacherous things. And because of it, the people suffered. So when King Josiah was installed in the ranks of a king in Judah, he looked and he said, wait a minute. My father Amon, yes, he was a king, but I see what he did. I see that he rebelled against God, and I see the ramifications of it. My grandfather, the same, Manasseh, I see that he was installed before my father Amon, and I see the evil that he did, and the people suffered and the ramifications of it. Do I want to follow the same way, or do I want to be successful as a king? So he looked and he looked, who can I model myself after? Who can I look upon as a counselor, as a guide, so that I can be successful in this position as the king? He said, I've heard about David. I know that David was the king of the nation. And when David was the king of the nation, all that he did, how he followed God, and the people were blessed, and his lineage was blessed. I'm going to make David my father. So I say it again that if you don't have your father in your house, you got to be like King Josiah. You got to find your father. You got to find someone that you can go to and model your life after. Someone who can pour into you. It can be an uncle. It can be an older cousin. It can be a pastor. It can be a man at your workplace. Someone who can be a guide to you. Someone who can sharpen you. Someone who can teach you certain nuggets and build you up so you can be the best man that you can be. And as I'm saying that, I also give a charge to all the men out there. As I'm telling men, if you don't have that father in your house, to find the father, I'm telling men, find a son. There are a lot of men out there, or a lot of young men out there who were like me, didn't have that teacher in the house, didn't know certain things, weren't guided a certain way. So men, find you a son, find you someone that you can counsel, someone that you can mentor, someone that you can pour into and sharpen so that they can be the best man that they can be. I believe God puts out on this world footsteps and footprints. If you're walking before me and we're going to a place that I've never been, you have the ability, because you've been there, to take me there. I'm going to follow your footsteps. That's what I mean by footsteps. If you've been to a certain place, but maybe you're not in my presence, but I need to go where you've been, I will follow your footprints. If you're going, think about the snow for a second. Sometimes people leave footprints in the snow, and you can follow those footprints in the snow, and it can lead you to where that person went. There are footprints that people have gone before us, and those footprints can guide us to the places that we need to go. There are people who have gone before us. They are men. They have lived as men. They know what it takes to be a successful man. Those are footprints. And we can walk those footprints and be the best man that we can be. So I'm saying again, if you don't have anyone out there, find your father. Find someone of a good character, of good morals, of a good reputation, that can be a counselor to you, to be a mentor to you. And also, men, there are a lot of young men who don't have anyone. Where they go to gangs. They go to the streets, and the streets raises them. And the street teaches them things, and they fall into so much trouble. But if they had a father who could guide them, their life would have been different. You can be that father. You don't have to be their biological father. You can be that father, someone to just hold their hand and lead them so that they can be the best man that they can be. That's all I have for you today. Look, I want you, because that's my opinion, I want you to share your opinion in the comments. Share it in the comments. But the next time, I will have a different topic, and we're going to have a great time again. This is Chris Harris. This is the Open Door Podcast, and I see you on the next episode. God bless you.